Welcome to Connected Leadership. I'm your host, Kimberly Denville, the founder of Comet Leadership Development. My passion is helping others to develop their own leadership style and skills. Whether it's through one-on-one mentoring, writing, or speaking to groups of people, I love to discuss topics related to leadership and people management. We believe that anyone can be a leader, whether you're a people manager or not. We want to help you build the skills that help you connect and motivate people so they can reach their full potential. Thank you for joining us today, and let's dive in. Good morning and welcome everyone to this week's episode. Today we're going to go into something that's a little more personal. We're not going to cover so much how to in this particular episode, but I feel that the story I'm about to relate and kind of what came out of it serves as an object lesson. This is why I talk to people about connection and caring, and heck, why I named this podcast Connected Leadership. What we're going to talk about today is why positive feedback matters. And at the same time, we're going to also talk about perception. So what prompted all this was the other morning, I was sitting having my coffee and I was struck by a random memory. There was an employee of mine that I was giving a review to, and it was a very good review. He was a good employee. His reaction to this review amused me. It distressed me a bit too, and I remember very clearly having a text conversation with my boss about it afterwards. As we talked through the details of his performance and why I had rated him as I rated him very well, he kept interjecting with comments of thanks and appreciation, and he kept repeating the phrase, "Thank you for your kind words." Here I was telling him how happy I was with what he had accomplished, thanking him for his dedication and hard work, and I was passing along the kudos and the positive statements that I'd been receiving about him from other people both inside and outside of the department. I wasn't telling him these things to be kind. I was detailing why I thought he earned a good review and a ranking. And then it was the piece that really stuck with me. At the end of our meeting, he commented to me that there were few managers who had done these things. There were not very many people who had told him thank you and given him positive feedback. And he found my approach to the review very motivating. His prior managers had operated in that mentality of no news is good news. And that was their default feedback mechanism, so praise was rare. I was amused because here was one of my team members, someone who was a little bit older than me, much more tenured in the company than me, and had only been on my team for a short while. And he was thanking me. All I was doing was recognizing his work. I was the one thanking him. Repeatedly throughout his review, I was saying, thank you. But right behind that amusement was sadness. This was someone who had worked for this company for many years. When I came into the organization, everybody was telling me how awesome he was. And I do mean everyone. And yet, they hadn't bothered to tell him. I assume he knew he was good at his job. I am fairly convinced that he knew he had an important part to play in the organization. But he had never been told directly how great he was doing in such plain terms. So in my introduction, I mentioned that we're also going to talk a little bit about perception today. Prior to this discussion, I had been feeling stuck. I felt like I was failing him as his manager. His position didn't really fit within my organization and even my next level up, for that matter. So he was a little bit of the odd man out. I didn't have a plan for him to develop. I wasn't sure how to integrate him into the longer-term strategy we were building. And I was having a tough time connecting with him because he didn't need help from me like everybody else did. So I thought I was failing as his manager. But what I uncovered that day was that despite my misgivings of my own performance, this person viewed me as one of the better managers to whom he had ever reported. Not because I clarified his role, trust me, I didn't. It wasn't because I gave him clear-cut SMART goals and objectives. Gonna admit, I failed there too. And it certainly wasn't because I always made decisions that he liked. I had no profound impact on what his daily actions were while he was on my team, other than giving him more work every time there was a new project that unfolded. However, I realized that there were things I did do. I said, thank you. If someone gave me feedback about him, I would turn around and give it to him. I lost count of the number of times someone just said to me, he's awesome. And I relayed every single one of those comments back to him. I made time for him, even when my schedule was jam-packed and there was a line of people seeking my attention. If we had a meeting, it was his time. If he ever messaged me on the side to say he needed to talk, I found the time in my calendar to chat. And during those chats, I listened. If he had suggestions, problems, whatever, I listened to what he had to say. Not everything worked out, and there were certain business decisions that we didn't agree on. But I tried to remain open to what he had to say. And finally, I communicated. If I needed something, I didn't leave him guessing. We weren't in the same office, and so I made a point to say hello whenever I could actually see him. If something wasn't right, which really didn't happen all that often, I told him. And even when a change was something that I knew he was not going to be happy with, I always tried my best to be transparent, and all of my actions were focused on setting him up for future success. And this is why there are so many articles on my site about connecting and caring as a leader. You need to appreciate your team members for who they are and what they give. You can follow the technical guidelines around time tracking, reporting, reviews, goals, objectives, and corrective actions. But this isn't what will win you the hearts of your team. I have seen time and again in my teams and in others where taking the time for these simple connection practices creates really loyal and productive relationships. Even at those times when I had to correct someone or I had to call them out for doing something rather silly, in the end, the relationship was better for it. So my closing thought to today's episode is take some time to give your team recognition. Practice positive feedback. It makes more of an impact than you realize it does. And finally, say thank you just a little more often. That's all for this episode. Thank you for joining in and listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be alerted when the next episode comes out. If you want to get more detail on today's topic, or you want to check out our other material, please visit us at cometleadership.com. You'll find a series of articles, templates, and training material.
You can also email me directly at kimberly@cometleadership.com. Thanks for listening and have a fantastic day.